Yep.
Are we live?
Oh wait.
Can you hear me now? Hold on.
Live?
I'm gonna see if it. Ah! We're on. Okay. All right, guys. So you're listening to a little experiment. We're trying to do something a little different by.
You put on your radio voice.
By.
Hi guys. You're listening to the New Nostalgia Podcast.
Hi, welcome to NPR. Would you like some sweaty balls? Anyways, so I'm Oscar.
I'm Jenny.
And I'm Bugs.
And you're listening to the New Nostalgia Podcast. Like I said before, nights. So we're trying a little experiment. We're trying to see if we can possibly record our podcasts live, and then you can listen to us do with all the little flubs and all the little things that we kind of trying to edit out.
Raw.
I know. So pretty much you're listening to like the raw, uncut version of the podcast. If you're listening live. So far, I don't think we have anyone.
And that's fine.
But we'll get there. We'll get there. Anyways. So yeah, we're just trying something new. Trying to see if this is something that we want to continue. If you like it or you're listening after the fact, go and leave a comment letting us know what you think. But we will also have an edited version out on the podcast feed if that's what you prefer. So about that, we're coming back after a little break, which is par for the course. We like to record every 5 months, so we're just gonna pick up like we left off. It's kind of like when you send a text message, someone sends you a text message, and then
from an old friend,
and then 5 days later you just return the text like you're just returning it.
It's been left on
or
red for quite a while.
We can be your old friend from high school that that you always keep in touch with every so often, and then when you talk to them, it's like no time has passed.
We're hoping we're that friend. Well, anyways, so a lot's gone on in pop culture and really stuff that's been nostalgia driven, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of came together and we were talking about all the different things that have come out since the last time we recorded and things that are going to come out. And there's been a lot.
All of that.
Uh-huh.
As well as life, but like experiencing all of that. So.
Okay, so I guess starting out, we can go into what are we currently listening to, watching, and all that good stuff. So, Jenny, do you want to go ahead and start off on what you've been currently listening to, watching, possibly reading?
What I've been watching are a lot of documentaries. And I think the thing that kicked it off was the Adnan Syed thing on HBO that they had right before Game of Thrones, the last season. So since we had started watching that, which was good, I liked it. I've been watching a lot of other documentaries, like HBO documentaries, like the West Memphis 3. If you haven't watched the Paradise Lost documentaries, they're on HBO. They're really good. Very interesting. This be like crime stories, true crime stories. Also, of course, we saw Leaving Neverland, which we'll definitely talk about later because Michael Jackson's a big deal to me.
Yeah, that's a big topic.
That's heavy.
It's heavy. So that's an episode in itself. But I watched it probably 3 times because I watched it with you, Bugs, and Lisa. So yeah, that and a lot of documentaries on Amazon and YouTube, and Hulu, and like the documentary that has to do with the show that goes along with the Act, that show. What is it, Mommy Dearest something or other.
I think it was
about
Mommy
Gypsy
Deadly
Rose.
Dearest.
Yeah, Mommy Deadly Dearest. You are completely right about that. That one was pretty crazy. So all these things, if you like documentaries, check them out.
And all of those have been on HBO Go or HBO Now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And some on Netflix. We saw the what was it? I think something abducted. We need to put that like in the comment in the.
Is it the one about the little girl who gets kidnapped?
Oh,
yes.
Abducted in Plain Sight.
Yes, that one. holy cow. That one is intense. This is what happens when you're live. You don't have things in front of you to be like, it's this. Yeah, no, that was crazy. It was intense. But of course, if you're like squeamish about things like pedophilia, don't watch it. But if you are, if you like dramatic crime stories that's really, really intense, you'll like that because it was done very well. Other than that, I went to see Garbage with Amy,
cool, yeah.
one of my best friends from high school. So that was nostalgia in itself. That was pretty cool.
And I think I know you all went, but I think there were a couple of other people that I'd follow, like people I know on Facebook that also went. Uh-huh. Was it just a really good show?
It was awesome.
Because it seems like everyone who went had a great time.
They rock so hard still. Like Shirley Manson is freaking amazing. She's so she never ages. She's so beautiful. And two, like they rock so hard. Like it was like the 90s.
That's cool.
It was a great time. Yeah, and I don't really vary from the kind of music that I listen to in my playlists. I'm kind of set in my ways in my playlists. So I haven't really listened to new stuff. I listen to new podcasts, but that's it. Yeah, I've been watching a lot of shows, but we're gonna talk about those shows later.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Oscar?
Well, a lot of the movies and shows that I've watched in the past couple months, like you were saying, we're probably going to talk about later. So instead of getting into those, I have been noticing I've been listening to a lot of like new podcasts that I hadn't been listening to before. And they're all kind of different. So it's kind of like, it's like a nice little well-rounded like thing that I'm constantly trying to keep up on each episode. Like the first one that I really started listening to is called the No Sleep Podcast. So it's like creepypastas.
And I have that one bookmarked, and I need to listen to it.
For the most part, I like it because there's about three stories in each podcast, and it's 2 to 3 stories in each podcast, and like they're all different. So I like it because you can kind of see like which what kind of thing you like and what you don't like. Not every episode's great, but it's kind of like I think they're all written for the show itself. So it's not like you're gonna hear a creepypasta that you've heard a million times. That's what I kind of like about it. So it's always a fresh thing, and for the most part, I think the voice acting and like in the show is pretty good.
Is the pacing good?
The pacing's good. I can definitely say these are creepypastas that you would want to listen to versus read, because I feel like the ones that, or like even like on YouTube, where if you watch a video on YouTube where you read it, to me brevity is kind of like the best kind. Like those that are real short and to the point are always the most effective. These are longer, but they're still effective.
Nice.
Which I kind of like. The other ones I've been listening to is called The Ground Up Show, which is kind of like a guy who's into like the minimalist lifestyle, but he interviews other people on like how they were successful in like the specific thing they do.
That's another good documentary I watched, like the minimalism documentary on
Netflix. So that's the guy. So the guy who has that who's doing the Ground Up Show is the director of that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, is the director of that the Netflix documentary.
Cool.
So it's kind of like cool, and it's like he doesn't come off like, I think a lot of the times when you listen to like something about minimalism, it comes off either like in a real hipster way or a real pretentious way. This is more approachable. Like he knows it's kind of like a hipster thing, so it kind of makes fun of it, but also like what are the good parts of it. So that one, and I've listened to the Try Guys new podcast.
Yeah, like we've been watching them a lot lately too, opposed to before.
Yeah.
I've definitely seen a lot more of them. Lately.
So I've listened to them. I'm still kind of, to me, the jury's kind of out with them. I like them. They're interesting, but it's like they're not, even their videos, I feel like it's not something I could listen to or watch
all the time,
or in like rapid succession, or like just sit down and watch like an hour of their videos.
I tend to only like watching. I like if they have whatever topic they're talking about. If it interests me, then I'll watch them. But like I'll usually gravitate to if they're doing something that every other YouTuber's doing. I'd rather watch them than a lot of other people. But I won't watch them constantly either.
Yeah, I think they're interesting. I think that they're fun, but it's still like I think they're a little bit too like they're a little bit too. They trying to be zany for the sake of being enduring, and it comes off a little like it's too much. So, but for like I can handle it for a little bit. And the last one is a podcast called Obsessed with Joseph Scrimshaw, where it's like he takes, I guess, either people he knows or people he's heard of that have like a specific thing they're obsessed about. So like like if there's a person that you know that's like super obsessed with like the Halloween movies and just the Halloween movie, the first one, not necessarily the like he actually interviewed someone who's
so
like
you. I'm just kidding.
well he interviewed a guy, and that's why I listened to it, but he interviewed a guy who was obsessed with not the Halloween franchise, he was obsessed with the first movie. And then like how does that person see the rest of those movies?
He's like, so Halloween 2, no, I don't go there.
We don't go there.
We don't go there.
He's like, okay, but Halloween 2018. No, we don't go there. We really don't go there. So yeah, it's like and plus it's like a good like comedic podcast. So that's what I've been listening to. And other than that, like when it comes to music, I feel like for me the summer is the type of thing where I like to listen to things that are a little bit like more upbeaty. Just I don't know, but still sad. It's
because like, that's your soul.
Yeah, I like, what is it? It's like things that have an upbeat, they're upbeat, but they still have sad lyrics.
Jesus Christ.
Like churches.
Like, oh.
So that's what I'm currently all about. What about you, Bugs?
Listening to, we actually got a couple of people in chat room. I'm kind of looking at it right now. We got Mark, we got Sean, and we got Mark's over here telling me to fix my stuff. Because I guess we're coming in a little low. I can't really tell the audio levels on our end.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'm trying to fix it, guys. Sorry again, like we said, this is our first kind of rough go. We're all trying to figure it out as we go on, like I said. For listening, for some reason, I'm kind of channeling back into middle school. And lately, who's been kind of catching me again has been Slipknot. They've released 2 singles, and they're working on their newest album. And they lost 1 member, 2, well, technically 3, of course, if you count Paul. But their 2 new singles and their new album I'm kind of seeing where it's going. And the chat room's kind of blowing up right now. Just kind of reading it as we go.
Yeah.
It's very different, but also the same thing. So it's been like, for me, for Slipknot, they've kind of had a formula of heavy, and then when it came to Subliminal Verses and the later albums, they kind of, Corey started preaching more Stone Sour into Slipknot.
It was Stone Sour.
Yeah, so I mean, if you've listened to Stone Sour, I'm pretty much trying to run it. I don't know exactly what's going on, and again, this is me working with OBS. So
what's happening?
The levels are low apparently on our.
Can you hear any of us?
Go to live. They can hear us.
Oh, okay.
It's just the audio is pretty bad.
Can you guys turn up the volume? I'm just kidding.
This sounds like a personal problem. I'm just kidding.
Turn the speakers up to 11. What was it, the Steve Jobs thing where he's like, it's like, just don't hold it that way.
I know.
I'm like,
you're holding it wrong.
Can anybody check our levels and see?
As none of us talk, hang on.
Yvonne.
As none of us talk, hang on. Okay.
No, I mean.
Well, I have it all the way up.
Oh, okay, that's low.
Echo.
Echo?
Echo?
Why turn it down? Okay.
Oh.
Tech guy Bugs, fix your shoes.
Is Whoa, it's like Inception.
Oh God.
Okay. It's not that bad.
Okay. All right.
So
Back on track.
Back on track.
Like you
Sorry.
were saying. Slipknot.
Slipknot has,
Slipknot.
you know, they've kind of winged it, and they've been different. I guess so. That's what I'm understanding. I mean, it could be your phone, Mark. Sorry to call you out on that. Could be. Because everybody else.
Mark's like, screw you guys.
Oh, Whispercast, really? All right, Mark.
This is turned to an ASMR podcast.
Can you hear this?
So pretty much from them, I really haven't. Well, no. The other album or the other band that I've kind of been listening to has been Devin Townsend. He released.
Hell yeah! And you can. I'm sorry, but you have to shout out Cody for that one because.
He was the one he plugged this on that. Yep. He was like, you guys need to go check out. I mean, my brother had listened to Devin. We initially grew up listening to Devin Townsend, and he came up from Strapping Young Lad, and released, I'm pretty sure, multiple albums until we just found out Kingdom, and then we found Empath, and just blew our minds with that, and how much money he funded into that, his own self-running project, and it still comes out, and it outshines everything he's honestly done.
Yeah, man, it's an amazing album, fucking amazing.
Watched. Nothing. I mean, everything, of course, of the shows that we normally do and that we will get to, of course, discussing later. Movies and shows. Yeah, nothing really. Well, kind of still touching up on a book a hidden gem that I had been looking for, The Devil's Dictionary. I've been only dabbling in that and reading that, pretty much.
Cool.
Mark is so sad.
That
right. Actually helped. Oh.
When we were like
the ASMR.
The ASMR.
Good. It's like
Captain Sparkles. Well, no, Sean's been reading mangas. Few nothing specials, listening to music while I head to work. Cool. And also giving us a listen. Thank you.
Anything specific that you listen to on your way to work?
It's a mixed match. I still dabble in Slipknot and I don't know.
Any responses? No responses. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the movies and stuff that we've watched that we want to talk about so badly. I have one in mind that I can gush on about forever.
And
that's which one?
Rocketman. I fucking loved it. It was amazing. We got to watch it 2 weeks early.
Yeah.
And so I wrote a review, and then I was like, no, I'm not gonna put it out. I don't know. I stopped myself because it's just.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know. Because I have no confidence in myself. I don't know. I don't know. It was just going on and on and on, and it was super repetitive. But it's just so good. If you haven't watched it, please go watch it. Even if you don't like musicals, I think this one does it in a very different way. Oscar, you're the type of person who doesn't like musicals. What did you think?
Yes. Yeah, because I immediately turned to you when...
That was a surprise, too.
Okay, so when it starts off in, like, they're going into, like, full musical form where it's, like, it's not just them playing the music, you know, like, in a concert or, like, him performing, like, in front of an audience where it's actually, people are dancing and singing and stuff like that. I was like, oh, great, here we go. Like, it's an actual musical. But for the most part, I was into it. Like, I was actually surprised that I got into it.
The songs go so well with the narrative.
I was on board for most of it.
Yeah, the songs go so well with the narrative, I think. And I was so surprised that it was a musical. I didn't realize it was going to be. I thought it was just going to be, biopic, kind of typical what we've seen. I was expecting Bohemian Rhapsody, but we got so much more. Like, that's what Bohemian Rhapsody should have been in my eyes, because Bohemian Rhapsody wasn't enough. But Rocket Man was, and we haven't even really talked about what it was. In case you don't know what Rocket Man is, it's the biopic of Elton John, which I think is awesome. I think it definitely shows that if you want your biopic done right, you should do it while you're still alive.
Yeah, he's able to still get like the royalties and stuff like that too.
Yeah,
so it's
still able
good
to
for him.
feed into it.
Good for him.
I mean, would you say that the inspiration somewhat from what sparked this movie was possibly that commercial that you had shown us?
No, I think he probably was doing that at the same time. Because the trailers and stuff for Rocket Man were already out after that commercial had aired. We're talking about I don't know what brand of piano it was, but you can look it up on YouTube. It's quite emotional, but it's really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it starts off with, his childhood, and it's really, really cool, and it goes through, it gets pretty heavy because it's not so much of other biopics that, rock and roll biopics that it's like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It's more like how his trauma and his life, how he used the sex, drugs, and rock and roll to cope with all of that, and it really shows in the therapy sessions, and I thought that was really, really good. And coming from the mental health field, I thought it was done extremely well. Yeah. I was so excited to see that.
I remember that part where without spoiling too much of it, at the very end, where it's like you actually get to see like him in therapy and group sessions. Like I remember I saw you crying.
I cried. It was amazing. It was amazing. Yeah. It was a beautiful example of group therapy, a beautiful example of Gestalt therapy, and psychodrama. It was quite amazing. Yeah.
I mean, it's basic known facts, and there's kind of breakdowns of everything. If you had been keeping up with him, it's, to me personally, like with Bohemian Rhapsody, which I think this movie did differently, and this is again just me speaking from it, is Bohemian Rhapsody took kind of basic knowledge songs, and I didn't know that many songs as well, again, while diverse as much as you, Jenny.
From Elton John. That's what I was going to say. I think that's interesting because you and I switched on this. Because while I'm a Queen fan, I'm not a diehard Queen fan like you are, Steven. Mm-hmm. And I think Freddie Mercury is like the greatest frontman of all time. But I can't give you lyrics and stuff verbatim aside from, the songs that everyone else knows. Mm-hmm. I don't know their albums and stuff by memory like I know Elton John, because I grew up listening to Elton John because of my parents, and Elton John is a big part of my influence on music, and I loved it. So I was actually way more excited to see Rocket Man than I was to see Bohemian Rhapsody, and I'm just so glad. It was so amazing. I literally stood up and gave it a standing ovation at the end of the film. I was the only idiot doing that, but like I don't care, because I've never done that for a movie in theaters, and I actually literally stood up and clapped. It was so good. I think the only other movie I clapped at the end of, and that's because I just did it at home, was after I saw The Artist. That's such a good movie. You need to go watch that movie if you've never seen it. But yeah, absolutely incendiary. Loved it.
Cool. I thought it was cool.
I don't know, man. Rocket Man's pretty cool.
Rocket Man's pretty cool.
So we saw that. We also got to see one of our favorites in 4K. We took Oscar to go see what, Oscar?
Yeah, so maybe like a week ago, right?
A week ago.
A week ago. We went to go watch the 4K release of The Shining, the Stanley Kubrick version of The Shining, not the made-for-TV ABC version of.
I don't even acknowledge that one, honestly.
I mean, but you may want to see that one in big theaters. It exists. So we watched the Stanley Kubrick version, and which is really limited version, and it's weird because it's a movie that I've seen maybe like 50 times.
Literally, I think I've lost count on how many.
Yeah, where it's like I've seen it a lot of times, and I don't know what it was. But watching it, maybe it's because like I've only watched it, at home, or like, not in a theater setting, but I feel like I got so much more out of it,
Mm-hmm.
and like it all made just a little bit more
Makes
sense
sense.
to me.
Yeah.
And then also, like, I know that we had said before, at the very end, where there's like, where it, everything's hitting the fan pretty much,
Yeah.
and everything's coming out. Uh, uh, One thing that I realized, or that I heard a lot more, is like chanting, and like how the soundtrack
Mhm.
is just so like
It
intense.
felt so much more demonic.
Yeah, it felt like
Definitely
I
in
think
your
just
face.
all in,
Yeah.
it's just everything felt way more intense,
Mm-hmm.
and like it's like I think you even get to where like you hear the soundtrack, how much distortion is in some of like the sounds and like the shrieks and stuff, to where it's almost like ear piercing.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think you don't get that experience watching it at home. So I was I was really impressed by watching it in the theaters.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same here. I had exactly that same feeling. And to add to that, it was just on a more psychological level, watching it on the big screen. Some of those things that you get kind of those instinctive feelings that you never really got before while just watching it on your small, on the small screen.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, oh, like you got a kind of a different perspective, a different feel from certain scenes. Like when Danny's talking to Jack on the bed,
Yeah.
and it's a little more creepy,
Yeah,
a
we
little
definitely
more.
never really got that. I mean, again, this is reviewing after God knows how many times we've lost count. But that scene in particular, when you pointed that out, I'm like, that did feel like very uncomfortable.
It felt very
We
like.
watched it at home, and we've never gotten this feel. Again, it's not.
And
It
of
shouldn't
cour-
be everybody's happy-go-lucky movie, but it just so happens to be ours
Well,
after
yeah,
multiple
we're
viewings.
strange. Well, I mean, we what was I gonna say? We've heard a whole bunch of those theories, like like, oh, was he abused before? Was he perhaps sexually abused? That kind of
I mean,
thing.
Danny?
that story
Yeah.
for some reason did all of a sudden stand out because we had overbrushed that so many times, and when it came up, I was like, holy crap, did they cut that out? And they were like, no. Both of you guys looked at me and was like, no, it was never cut out. It just like I guess you never really paid attention to that dialogue scene between Shelley. I'm gonna say Shelley's character.
Shelley Duvall.
Shelley Duvall. I want
Wendy?
to say something else. Shelley Duvall's character between her and the psychiatrist.
Yeah, when
I don't think I had ever noticed that.
Like
that both of you said that.
Yeah, same.
Both of you said they were like, hey, I never really noticed
Well, it's like I never really listened to it as, I guess,
how
intently
she
as.
was very much in denial. She explained
Yeah.
exactly what happened, but she's like, well, you just
Like making
it's just-
excuses for
It's just
him.
one
and
of those things that just happens.
You know,
Blah blah blah.
he just pulled him too hard, and,
Uh-huh.
and that like everyone does, and kind of making excuses for him. So
Mhm.
And so it just ended up being like 10 times more intense than what we're pretty much used to. Definitely, we heard every sound plausible to man, and it just made it over the top that much better. And like I said, I don't think we even.
And I think it's instilled some of
Mhm.
the theories that we had
Oh, heck yeah.
all along, which was pretty cool.
Mhm.
So yeah, another thing that I've seen in the movies, you guys haven't seen it, but I went to go watch it with Lisa and Yvonne, was Aladdin. Yeah.
It's a movie that exists.
So you guys know how I feel about Disney.
If you don't know by now.
I'm the resident Disney freak, so It seems like I'm the kind of person who, if it's Disney, I'm gonna love it, and that's just not completely true. Because if that were true, I would have loved this film, and I did not love it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it, and it just wasn't good enough. And I've said it before. It just wasn't good enough, and it actually wasn't even what I thought was going to be bad. I was really, really iffy about their casting in the first place, and Will Smith as the genie, of course, could never live up to Robin Williams. We know that. Everybody said that ad nauseum, but of course, I was genuinely afraid of it. But while it was Will Smith being the genie, he was okay. He was good. Like, I was entertained with him, and he was a good wingman. He really was. That's what he was to Aladdin, and he was there for him. He was a really good buddy. I enjoyed that. The things that I did not like were Jafar was they made him look like a complete weasel. They made him look like a complete weasel. I was not there for that. And while the movie had its moments, there were parts that were actually really, really cool. I really enjoyed them. The parts that were actually original to this film alone. Those parts were the parts that were great. Now the parts, like the musical parts that they obviously replicated from the animated film, those are the parts that felt really forced, and that's what I think took me out of the movie.
Okay.
And so I want to watch it with you guys to see what you think, but I'll watch it with you guys again, but I don't think I want to own this film.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that after you watched it. It's like that this would be the like. Do you own all the other
Yes.
live action?
And it's not just because it's live action, because so many people like hate so many people like don't like the fact that Disney's doing these live action films. Not all of them are bad, and they're not. I loved Maleficent. I loved what they did with it, and I actually really loved Cinderella because it felt like Disney's version of Ever After, which is pretty much what it was, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was done really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people might differ, but I loved Dumbo. I absolutely loved it. It was beautiful. I cried like a baby. It was ridiculous. I felt like an idiot, but it was so good. It was just really, really good. I think Tim Burton did really, really a good job on that film. Compared to Alice in Wonderland, I didn't really care much for that one.
Mm-hmm.
But in comparison to that one, he did great. And I'm really excited. I don't think they can do bad on Lion King. I'm really excited for that. I don't think that one's going to be bad at all.
I think with that cast, though, it's like, man, like, it'd be, I think, really weird to see it if it didn't do well, or if it.
Yeah, I have no doubt that one's going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
If it for some reason is, I'll be shocked.
I'd be more surprised, if it was a flop. If it wasn't good.
So I'm so there for that. I'm so excited, and I'm so excited for Mulan. Like, I am really excited for Mulan. I mean,
they haven't even announced the freaking cast, and we already know exactly where it could possibly go.
Donnie Yen, Jet Li, what's his name? The guy who played Bruce Lee in the Dragon, in the story of Bruce Lee. I forgot his name. But he's in there. It's. I hope to God they make it sort of martial arts. That might be just me wishful thinking, but you never know. I don't know. I'm just really excited for it, and all I have to say is they better not screw up Little Mermaid when they make it.
Yeah.
So.
That's funny.
Are we looking forward to Toy Story 4?
I'm on the fence still. I mean, I've watched the trailers. I think I've seen the first one, the first trailer that got released, and I want to see it, but I'm still on the camp where I feel like Toy Story 3 was such a good final chapter to where it's like, why do we need a fourth one? But I'm still on the camp also where it's like, well, convince me that we do need a fourth movie.
Okay.
And I can be convinced.
I'm completely with you on that.
Mm-hmm.
But I also, I guess maybe not completely then. I am like 95% with you on that. And then there's also that part of me that usually has tons of faith in Pixar films.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen a Pixar film that I don't like. I've never seen a Pixar film that I don't like.
Cars?
I can't say that because I've never seen Cars. I've never seen Cars, and I've never seen. There's another Pixar movie I've never seen.
Didn't you just? I mean, you've already seen The Incredibles, right?
Oh yeah, I like The Incredibles.
Yeah, that's good.
God, there's one more. I can't remember. I can't think.
A Bug's Life.
The Good
No,
Dinosaur,
I like A Bug's Life.
You saw.
Yeah, The Good Dinosaur. While it's not one of my favorites, it's still good. But it's definitely not one of my favorites. But can't remember. Anyway, that doesn't really matter. The point is that I have a lot of faith in Pixar.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're good at giving you the 1-2 punch, and by the punch I mean you're gonna be bawling like a baby. They're good at taking really good adult situations and making it to where a child can understand it, but at the same time, the adult that's taking the child to go see this movie is like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So they're really good at that. So I'm excited. I want to see what the message is in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with Oscar the same way. We have Jay Bird blessing us with his presence. Came in and he pretty much said the same thing. He goes, I don't know how to feel about it either. It's kind of that thing. Like the third movie pretty much gave us that gut punch, and there's people even editing out the last quarter of the movie of just like them in the infirmary or the furnace, sorry. And just that particular part, but like that's
it's literally them accepting death.
Yeah.
That scene pretty much resonates every single time, like watching it. I don't think that's why it was like I'm okay with like letting that go. Like the series could have just ended there.
Yeah, I really thought it was too. I really thought that was it. I didn't think they were gonna make another one.
Yeah. So I think at this point, at least for myself, I feel like, again, I think Toy Story 3 could have been the perfect ending, but I'm still willing to be convinced that we do need another one if the movie's good. If it's not, then I don't think,
Yeah, I wouldn't be on a board if they would be like, oh, we're gonna still do freaking Toy Story 5, or we're up to 100 now. I'm not up to that. I just want to see how far they can go with this.
But another thing I've heard about Toy Story 4 is that there's supposed to be a scene, or there's supposed to be a part of the movie that's like gut-wrenching. And I'm like, how much more gut-wrenching can you get?
Because every
I
actor
heard
has
that.
a
I heard Tom Hanks say, personally, no, I'm just kidding. I wish.
On the
That'd be
phone.
freaking cool. No, I heard that Tom Hanks said while reading the script, they all bawled. Like, it was, and it wasn't just because it was like a nostalgic thing for them. It was because it was good material. Yeah, like it was a good story. And so as soon as I heard that, I was there for it. So we'll be seeing that at the end of the month.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
What else is this month? I feel like there's something this month. Ooh, when's Child's Play?
Is that coming up?
I think that's almost the same time.
And I think we need to talk about all those advertisements that they've been doing. I think it's a good segue from how they've been showing him totally mutilating Buzz and Woody.
So it kind of started as a joke, but people were like, well, I think the first one was, it's just Chucky's arm, like with Woody's hat, but it's not for copyright purposes. It's not exactly Woody's arm or Woody's color. And then the next one, I don't think you had seen, but yeah.
June 21st. Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
Dang. Okay, cool.
So almost about the same time. Crazy. So.
I'm sure they did it on purpose.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like if they're gonna be toe to toe. If they're going toe to toe, it's gonna happen. So it started off with that one. The second promo is Slinky.
Especially since we've got both of the boys named Andy. It's
That's right. Yeah.
Yep. So. Yeah, it's
okay. So, what are your? You were not for Child's Play at all.
I initially was not for Child's Play.
I was totally there for it. As soon as I saw the first trailer, I was like, "Holy crap!" But I've always loved Child's Play. Always have loved Chucky.
It's always been the back burner. But the whole thing for me was. Because they hadn't talked about exactly who was going to be the voice of Chucky. Like, nobody, came on cast listing. IMDb was not there. Hollywood Reporter. Nobody was on there and telling us, hey, Brad Dourif is going to go ahead and bless us again with his voice of, Chucky. That would have been great.
I think that's what you were waiting for.
That's what I was waiting for. I was waiting for, the iron to drop. Or the shoe to drop. But basically, we got
for me, it was like Brad Dourif is to Chucky what...
Freddy,
exactly.
Yeah, Robert
Englund is to Freddy.
Krueger.
And so it was like, well, if he doesn't want anything to do with it, then I don't want anything to do with it.
I don't know. For some reason, to me, Child's Play isn't like a sacred property to me. So it's like, To
So
me,
you could take it or leave it.
I can take it or leave it. Like if it's good, I'll like it. If it's not good, it'll go with the movies and Child's Play that aren't good. But I have a feeling like, again,
As
just
long as it's not Halloween.
looking at the cast list, it looks like it's pretty good. It's like
I'm
it's
just so like I want to see Aubrey Plaza like be that mom.
Yeah.
Because I can't really visualize it, so I need to see it.
Yeah, I still see her as April Ludgate from Parks and Rec, so it's a little bit, it's gonna be weird.
But even hearing her, like, and it's mainly just going to her as a person, like her interview style. Like I mean, she doesn't seem like she would take anything very seriously, but for her to be jumping on this, and it's very like a different take. But I like it because right now the trailers have kind of been on point, so they've been kind of saying it's not just about the toy. There's people out there, like a couple of coworkers of mine, were just like, she's gonna be
a dirty mom. I like how they also put Andy had a good childhood, the other one didn't.
Yeah. Like in Bad Grandpa. Oh, I need to watch that movie. I haven't seen it.
That's a movie we need to watch. But a coworker of mine was like, well, it wouldn't be able to be replicated in this day and age, like Child's Play. It was like, no, I agree. It wouldn't be able to because the concept, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think might have came from My Buddy, which is why they changed his name now from, Good Guy to My Buddy. Different spelling, but also roughly off of Teddy Ruxpin as well.
Teddy Ruxpin.
But that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's.
I did not have a Teddy Ruxpin.
Nor did I.
Teddy Ruxpin was right before.
I'm like, I think that's before.
Our
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
but right on the cuff. But I did have my wrestling buddy. I had Macho. I think we had Macho Man Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan. We were pretty big fans of those. But it kind of works with the technological kind of standpoint.
Yeah. I really like that they have this Bluetooth to the whole house, and it's like a smart device. So
Well, like he's able to, like, I mean, like with the whole like Internet of Things,
he's
smart home
fucking
thing.
with their environment. So that's pretty crazy. So that's awesome. I'm excited.
Nothing is really safe. So
Yeah.
guaranteed within the next couple of things we'll see the decline of Alexa, Google Home. Everybody kind of
Everyone's gonna be like, yeet.
Well, now it's like, if you think about it, there's smart, microwaves. There's smart.
Dirty Grandpa.
There's smart vacuums, and it's like, if you think about it, all those are like easily hackable. So if you get like a demonic, like toy that's gonna like turn all these things on and like kill you, that's pretty interesting.
But I mean, even the original Rough story was what Talking Tina from.
I'm Talking Tina. I'm gonna kill you.
And I don't like you very much.
And you better be nice to me.
Yeah. Which is a nice segue.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Into
Yeah.
So the Twilight Zone has had a reboot with Jordan Peele. I think he's producing, but he's also like the new Rod Serling narrator guy.
God, if you are a fan of the Twilight Zone, please watch it. It's so good, especially the last episode. That's all I have to say.
Well, okay.
Okay.
It's good. Certain episodes are good. I feel like
no, yeah.
I feel like it's a very hit or miss kind of thing where it's like you'll watch.
So was the original though.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that there's like anything else. There's like the episodes that are boring, that are really slow and really don't amount to anything. Then there's always those that like are just like a good template Twilight Zone episode where you kind of get the weird thing that's going on, and then like that twist. So it's kind of like, it's nothing great, but it's also pretty much like what's expected. And then there's like the episodes that are like, that stick with you and make you think, and like you start thinking about like, have that like social
Especially
commentary.
Rewind, right?
Yeah. Rewind. I think
that's my favorite one of the whole.
Rewind, Blurry Man, which is the last one.
Oh, yes.
What was the other one that we saw? I think there's two more.
And like you said when we were watching it, the last one, while it does have its cheese. It's good cheese.
Yeah.
It's like a good brie.
A good baked brie. Do you think it was a strong opener with the comedian?
I don't.
No.
Yeah,
I think that one should have been probably
the
my
second,
third episode.
Yeah, the third. I think what they should have started with the Nightmare on 30,000 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a better intro because it's kind of like it's going from something which you think is going to happen. I thought it was going to be
I think
like
maybe that's why they released it at the same time.
probably they thought it wasn't strong. Maybe they wanted something that was more original to start it out than something that was more of a throwback.
Right.
Yeah, more or less a familiar. Would you say like a title? I think
Mhm.
that's what
Right.
pretty much hooked us. It was like, oh my god, they redid a freaking Terror at 30,000 feet, expecting there to be freaking Kirk or John Lithgow in the movie version. We were expecting something
Yeah.
having to do, of course, with that terror of being an airplane, and that's where the whole frightening part of people who are afraid to fly.
Right.
Yeah,
I think that the series, even though it was only like what
10
10
10
episodes,
episodes.
even though it was 10 episodes long, did a really good job of having its Easter eggs. And I think
Yeah,
I think with shows that are being rebooted, like classics like that, are also having to compete not only with its original self, but also with other shows that are similar to it, like Black Mirror.
well, it's kind of like if you think about it, Black Mirror is always being described as
The new Twilight Zone.
the Twilight Zone
Right.
that's geared towards technology. So
Right.
it's like it's competing with something that it's influenced by. It's kind of interesting that
Yeah.
they're having to compete, or like not necessarily compete, but they're both on like internet only services.
Yeah.
They're not. It's like they're both not on like regular cable TV.
Nope.
So I find that kind of interesting too, where it's like, are you a Netflix person? Are you a CBS Access person? Like me personally, I got CBS Access just so I could watch it, and now that it's gone, I mean, I don't think I'm going to keep going until it comes back.
Like HBO.
Same thing with HBO. Oh, Game of Thrones will come in a little bit, guys.
We're getting there. We're getting there. But since we brought up Black Mirror, we just watched the season 5, which was sort of reminiscent of the first 2 seasons because
Yeah.
it only had 3 episodes.
And I feel like for the most part, what I found interesting about this season, I don't think we should go into too many spoilers just because it really just was released, this past Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I did find interesting, and this isn't too much of a spoiler, is just that
People are calling it garbage. Well, I don't think it's garbage. I think it's definitely not the strongest season.
I think that take is like I think it's a little bit extreme. I think it's not the best season that they've had,
Yeah, definitely.
but I think it is like
it was a season filled with all the filler episodes of other seasons.
I wouldn't even say that. I would say it's just not as exciting as like there wasn't that one episode
I was
like
oh my god!
yeah, like USS Callister or Shut Up and Dance or like
And
San Junipero, where it's like they're like, oh, that's an
You can
instant
hold on
classic.
to it,
Yeah.
yeah.
It definitely felt like I guess you can go, yeah, I guess they're more on like the middle. Like if you were to rank them, they'd be somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, they weren't entirely bleak and they weren't entirely happy.
Yeah.
They were all very bittersweet, I think.
Mhm.
But I think the last episode, the one with Miley Cyrus, is the best of all 3 of them.
I think
Yeah.
it's the most interesting.
It's the most entertaining for me.
Yeah,
because,
definitely.
Because honestly, when we were watching it, like again, no spoil.
Entertainment wise, yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
It didn't feel
maybe not
very Black
story-wise.
Mirror. It didn't feel very Black Mirror
Yeah,
to me.
maybe not story wise, but definitely entertainment wise. It was
It was fun.
I don't want to toot it, but basically, I feel like the most of the money went into Bandersnatch.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it kind of feels like. Is like, hey,
And let's talk about that a little while. I think we were obsessed with it for
jeez.
the week that it came out. I watched it.
Can I put
so
up?
much.
I want to put up the dio that we ended up finding on Reddit because we legit sat through this dio and.
So if you guys don't know what Bandersnatch is, it's the basically create your own story interactive episode of Black Mirror that it was like a special that came out by itself. And if you're into that kind of stuff and into like 80s kind of era, you should definitely watch it. It's really really fun. I really liked it. What did you guys think?
Fantastic. I had the thing close enough to a Choose Your Own Adventure that I had was an old Goosebumps book that had I think it was Escape from Terror Mansion, or Haunted Mansion. But basically, of course, the Choose Your Own Adventure, you were flipping through the book back and forth, just making sure if you died during that roll, then you had to go back to whatever certain page that you did. So that's exactly what it kind of reminded me of. Like, everything frickin' counted.
Yeah, I think the thing I liked about it the most was how...
Why did it do that?
Evan.
Oh. Foul language, madam.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
Not you. Because the comment got blocked.
Oh, I thought me because I
No.
cursed.
No. I'm going to show it. Anyway. YouTube, what you going to do? Don't take us down, please. But yeah, that's basically reminding me of. I was really amped up. I was like, everything freaking counts. That's why immediately when I saw the memes rolling out, somewhat not of a spoiler, but somewhat of a spoiler, basically the first selection is choose your cereal. So everything from starting from the freaking cereal, it's like you have to be very careful and very wary. I mean, that's basically what I was told, before watching it. So I was like heavily invested.
I like how meta it was also, where it's like it was pretty much like the main character's like, someone's telling me to do something I don't want to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, because each step of the way as you're picking what he's gonna do
broke
next,
the fourth wall,
he's
hardcore.
he's like, I don't, something's telling me that I have to do this, and like he stops taking his meds and stuff, and like the more he kind of goes down that rabbit hole, the more he's almost noticing he's not in control of what he wants to do. He's being manipulated by you.
Yeah.
And I found that to be kind of the most interesting part of it.
I liked it.
I think that gave it like that Black Mirror kind of twist. That I think it could have fallen into something that would have been just like a gimmick, and because they did it that way, it was more interesting than what it could have been. So, but yeah, the other episodes that just got released of Black Mirror, I kind of wonder how we're gonna look back at them and see them in like the whole, because I feel like they really weren't as self-referential to the other episodes as the episodes have been in seasons 3 and 4. Like it just feels like they're almost to themselves, and it almost feels like they're not even that futuristic. Like for the most part, I'd say, like I think I even saw someone say that the second episode, the Smithereens,
that looks like it could happen right now.
Well, it actually takes place in 2018. It takes place in the past.
Oh, wow.
So that's interesting because they don't do that.
No, they don't. Well, no.
I don't think so. I can't think of one except for Bandersnatch, which took place in the 80s.
Yeah.
That's like the only exception, but that's a story that kind of really needed to go there.
Yeah.
It basically did need to go there in order to explain it. I mean, sadly, in this day and age, you don't really have... I'm going to say it. You really don't have that in the video game anymore. You really don't... In a way, yes, you do have open-ended, but it doesn't feel very linear. It feels very, oh, you did that? Still, we'll go down that path, but anything else after that? No, we're still going to go one way. I mean, the closest thing that you can have to that would be freaking Fallout or Skyrim or, stuff like that, but you really don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
So, an explanation of a choose your own adventure book.
Yeah. So Yvonne in the comments said that it was too much of a mind F going back and forth. It's true. It's too much.
I kind of wonder if that has to do with... I wonder how many other people thought that and aren't there for Black Mirror as much as other people. Do you know what I mean? I wonder if it has to do with how much you are obsessed with that show, and how much you totally like want questions answered in yourself, and that kind of thing. I'm definitely that kind of person who definitely goes down the rabbit hole. So I was like, oh my god, what next? I wanted to make sure I saw every facet of that episode. So that's just me.
So I feel like I think we've been going on long for a little bit. So I feel like if we have one more topic, and then we can go into 30 years today, and then I think this is a good episode. We've kind of gone back on track a little bit. So what's the last thing that we want to talk about before we go into 30 years today? Do we do Game of Thrones?
Talk about Game of Thrones.
Do we talk about Avengers? Do we talk about I don't know what else we have on the list.
Well, I don't know. How
Stranger
much do you have to say about Game of Thrones? Not that much. I personally don't have that much to say about
We
Game
have
of
a
Thrones.
picture of it.
I
This
have
is
a lot
exactly
to
You
say.
have I
have a lot.
that's
I have a
all.
lot to say about Game of Thrones, actually.
I mean, if the thumbnail that we're about to post, it doesn't say much, but
I've kind of put it in the category in myself that's like, it was what it was, and it's not gonna change. So there you have it. Like, you know what I mean? Like
you've accepted
I'm not gonna dwell. I'm not gonna dwell on what happened. I'm not gonna let what lost it to me be this. Like, I'm not gonna let this be that. So, I accepted it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Bugs, what do you have to say?
My take on it, probably not as strong as you guys, because I mean, even the picture I just threw up right now, of course, of the explanation of exactly what it's supposed to be. Like, I don't know. I felt it was very entertaining. The most I got of the feedback from everybody was like, this was not explained. This A and B was not explained to have C go and happen. Without giving too much away, I mean, unless there's not people out there.
Yeah, what I have to say about the whole season, it was very rushed.
Mm-hmm.
Very rushed. Like, it wasn't quite up to the level of bad to, like, the last season of Dexter. But
it definitely, I mean, some people even said it jumped the shark.
Yeah. And I don't agree with a lot of stuff that happened to the characters, but I mean, it's kind of like, I feel like this whole universe, I kind of feel like the way I feel about Star Wars. Like, it's so much bigger than I have to talk about or even research to know. You know what I mean? Where I kind of just watch it. I watch it and I either I like it or I don't. And I don't have that much to say about it. So
okay.
All you, bro.
So I feel like there hasn't been a show that's botched its ending as bad in a long time.
That's probably true.
Like, I feel like they are in that pantheon now of, like you said, it's not as bad as Dexter. I feel like it is. I feel like it's like, because I think in because I remember going back and watching the last season of Dexter, feeling like that there's a point in that last season where everything goes off the rails.
Yeah, because there was a while there where it was like, okay, it's going, it's trucking, and all of a sudden it had this major, like, fucking gas explosion.
And that's how I feel about this show. I feel it's, like, also kind of like a Lost, where it's like, it just, there's a point where it's going, and then something happens, it's like, oh, we only have, like, 3 episodes to do this whole, like, one episode could have been its own season.
Yeah, like, someone tell me, if someone who's listening or who loves Game of Thrones so much that knows these answers, why did they only make it 6 episodes? Why? What was the purpose of that?
I feel like it's just, I mean, I don't think they've come out and said it, but it's like the creators that, for themselves, were going to start working and do, like, their own Star Wars trilogy, so they were just trying to wrap up Game of Thrones.
Which is lame.
Which now is like, come on, let's not give them that. Second,
continue.
I feel like they also aren't as creative as their source material. So once they ran out of their source material, they ran out of the novels to adapt, they were only able to work off, like, the broad strokes that George R.R. Martin had kind of set forth, like, with his outlines. So I feel like they literally did the least they had to do to connect those dots. Because if you just watch, like, that last season, it just feels like they're just trying to connect those dots. They don't really care how they get there or how outlandish it is or, like, how they're making every character just a dumb version of what they are. Like, Cersei just being dumb and, like, just drinking by a window the whole season. Or Tyrion, all of a sudden, now he's not as clever as he has always been. Making all these dumb decisions.
Well, they didn't put in the details.
Yeah, it's like... They didn't know how to put in those details to where they would be true to the characters, so they just finished it.
Well, yeah.
Jay just responded to what you had just said, because he put in a big old paragraph basically saying he binge watched seasons
Yeah,
1
what he
through
said.
8. Yeah, he goes, just hated how, and he said it kind of made sense, but he just hated how Danny turned heel so viciously. I was gonna be like there's pretty
Yeah.
good, probably an explanation of like possibly to wrestling to that kind of standpoint that is. And he goes, that one thing that Arya should have a better ending. Really? I feel she might have. Basically, the memes that were being made about her was
She goes
like
to discover West Westeros.
she basically carried the show for those 6 episodes. Sorry.
Yeah, it's like that meme where it's like Arya all bloodied and full of dust, where it's like the pressure of carrying the show.
That's pretty much it, man. It's like,
Man.
But yeah, going back, I think because Jaber put something about how Danny's turn, I feel like that could have worked because they did kind of put in little things of her like being a little ruthless, but it was always towards.
Like it was almost like it was either gonna go. She was like fighting that Mad King urge.
Yeah.
Right. Like I understand that, but for some reason it was done too lazily.
Like the only way that you see her making the decision is just facial expressions. It's not like you actually see her go through. It's like everything that she's gone through is off screen, right?
Yeah.
Like, Jorah dies, Missandei dies, and then the next episode they're just like, oh, let's back away from Daenerys because she's kind of upset and she's in her room sulking, So it's like her going nuts and her hair going crazy happened off screen until she's on the dragon. She's like, am I gonna burn the city to the ground?
Let's burn this bitch.
She's like, fuck it. She does. So I don't know. I feel like that could have worked, but I feel like that should have taken time. That should have been
definitely
a season.
It should have been a slow burn for all of us.
You should have seen her start to get people that you liked. Kill people that we didn't see as villains, because that's all we would see her really do. If she killed someone or messed someone up, it was because they were villains.
Yeah, exactly.
What Jay said.
That's too funny. But yeah, and that's why when we do have our Star Wars episode, I'm just gonna let you and Mark and Bugs just go back and forth, because while I love Star Wars, I don't quite love it like you guys do. I'm not into lore. I'm not into the lore hardcore. I know about it because like my little cousin is obsessed with Star Wars, and so I know about it. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like I find it completely fascinating, but I will not research it myself.
Like you'd rather listen to the conversation than
exactly.
partake in it. Yeah.
Exactly. So I love hearing y'all talk about it. So that's coming up on an episode soon. So get ready, Mark. We're really saying it out loud. It's gonna happen. We've been saying it for like 2 years. We need to do a Star Wars episode, and you're gonna be on it. No, you're really gonna be on it. So yeah.
So I'm not gonna sign anything saying that they need to remake the last season. But I think what's going to end up really happening is I think because the show's
Aren't they making a prequel, or did I just dream that?
Well, no, they're making they're making like 5 prequels.
What? Okay.
But I think they've already said 2 of them have already been nixed. Like they're not going to do it, but there's 3 in the works.
Holy cow.
What's going on? We're having technical difficulties. Please don't let that stream drop.
Oh my god, that was frightening. Sorry guys, the lights totally just really like... We had a haunted mansion moment in our apartment. That was so strange.
All right, so we're still going?
Okay.
I guess just to end the Game of Thrones thing, I feel like what's going to happen is I think George R.R. Martin hasn't set out his books because he wanted Game of Thrones to finish.
Oh, God. It's happening again. Storm is moving in. It's a big one.
It's the ghost. I'm just kidding.
It's windy. The ghost.
Even Mark said there's a storm coming, and during the heat wave,
Storm brewing. Okay.
Winter's coming.
Oh Lord.
I feel like he's gonna finally release his books, like the last 2 books, and then what's gonna end up happening 10 years from now? They're gonna have the
I really think
Game of Thrones Redux.
No,
and it's
for
gonna
sure.
be
I think that
on Netflix or something.
Yeah, I really think obviously I really think this was done on purpose. I'm here babbling. Sorry. Martin's over here like, okay, we'll let you write the bad ending, and then I'll blow everybody away with what you didn't do in the show. So I think that might be what happened.
And then this will
Which
just
is
come
smart
down.
on his part.
It's smart, but it's sad because it's gonna like this. I think what's gonna end up happening with this whole series, it's gonna be like, oh well, that was just a fan fiction series, and that's kind of sad. So.
Okay.
Well, that's where we are.
Okay. Well, just to put a few little inputs on about the new Star Wars trilogy that makes it no longer a saga. What's beyond a saga? I don't know. But I was prepared to let it go and let it be what it was. I was not. I don't know. That's just me. That's just me. So I want to know what you guys think about Star Wars.
So save your notes, Mark, and get everything pinched up and tightened up. No loose ends, because we will go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah.
All right. So that's been some of the things we've been watching and some of the things that we've been, digesting, I guess.
So let us know what you want us to talk about next. I know we missed a lot of things. If you like to hear what we have to say, if you want to hear us talk about certain stuff, if you want to come and join our conversation, let us know.
Yeah.
In the comments.
So do we want to do the 30 years?
Yeah, just real quick.
Okay.
30-year wrap up.
So another thing that we like to do in this podcast is, since for the most part, we're all around the age of 30, 31, whatever. And what we've been doing is we've been trying to see.
Oh, your birthday's coming up.
Yeah, my birthday's coming up. What we've been trying to do is see what the cool movies were, what the cool what the top hits were 30 years ago. What are the main headlines? So what do we have, Bugs?
Sorry. Oh wow, I didn't even know that either. That's wrong. Then no, that's right.
What?
During the month of June, Dead Poet Society actually premiered.
Oh, I love that movie.
And that was like the first one.
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Oh man.
June 9th, sorry. The Star Trek we established that was 4 or 5? 5. Ooh, I didn't read that second one. 5. Sorry, Final Frontier premieres in the USA, but Tales from the Crypt premieres a day after that on HBO.
Can I just say that I had never seen Demon Knight, and we went to go watch it at the Alamo Draft House, and it was one of the best movie experiences I've ever had. It was phenomenal. It was absolutely amazing.
So 30 years ago, no, never mind. It's the 10th. Okay, I thought it was the 10th day.
No,
Oops.
tomorrow.
Yeah. So tomorrow, it'll be 30 years since Tales from the Crypt premiered.
That's freaking cool. And also, just really quick on the Star Trek thing, the new Picard movie that looks fucking.
Is
cool.
it a movie or is it a series?
I think it's a movie.
I don't even know. So.
I don't quote me. I think it's a movie, but I fucking love Patrick Stewart, so that's awesome.
We also got in music, or it says events and interest, that Jerry Lee Lewis got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Oh.
Ooh. And also Carole King.
Yay.
Along that same, what we got next week. Ooh, next week, 2 big hitters. Ghostbusters 2 premieres.
Cool.
And then Batman, June 23rd.
Yeah.
Very
Keaton,
cool.
Jack Nicholson, and Tim Burton.
Excellent.
Yeah, there's really big ones there. In music, that was pretty much it. That kind of got lumped in on there.
Very nice.
Yeah, nobody else.
So I guess that's all we got, guys. All right, so.
Let's have dinner.
So again, this has been a little experiment doing it live. So if you've enjoyed this, go and leave a comment in the comment section saying that you liked it, or if there's anything that you think that we can improve on. Definitely give us some feedback so we can make this a tighter ship and a better run show. Also, if there's anything that you guys think we should add or anything that we should take out, go and let us know too. All right, so this has been the New Nostalgia Podcast. I'm Oscar.
I'm Jenny.
And I'm Bugs.
So stay classic, San Antonio.
See you later.